As silly as the premise is, they actually did a good job totally committing to the idea, having a good format, and the contestants are really in it to win. Hello and welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. I typically cover TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. I'm back. It's been a minute. I actually am on the tail end of recovering from COVID. I was able to avoid it for the entire pandemic and it finally got me. It was rough and I finally finished my medication, which was nasty, so I'm excited to be back. Today I want to talk to y'all about a new reality TV show on ABC called Claim to Fame. I got targeted ads of it on my Twitter feed as usual, and I thought the concept sounded absolutely ridiculous. After the first 2 episodes that I've watched though, I am actually surprised by this show and excited about it, and I am impressed. So with that, let me get into, is Claim to Fame worth watching? I think in general, if you're a fan of reality TV and reality TV competition, it's worth a shot. The first 2 episodes are available on Hulu now, maybe even the first 3 episodes, depending on when I upload this. It is a social strategy reality TV competition, so if you like shows like Survivor and Big Brother, maybe even RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars seasons incorporate some social strategy, then you might enjoy this format. Speaking as a big fan of pop culture, if you're also a fan of pop culture, I think this show is really fun and the premise is really fun to play along with and really put your pop culture knowledge to the test. So the general premise of the show is that contestants all live together in a house. All sounds normal so far, but each contestant has a celebrity relative that no one else knows. So the goal of the game is to guess who each person is related to and be the last one standing. It sounds like a ridiculous concept, but it's actually quite interesting just because it doesn't feel like a quick cash grab gimmick type of show. Kind of like The Masked Singer feels to me. The Masked Singer and Masked Dancer franchise are one of the most successful reality TV competitions out there right now. But for me, I have trouble getting into them because they feel so gimmicky and like it's just promotion for kind of like D-list celebrities, you know what I mean? It's always really silly on that show. The judges will guess like Angelina Jolie, and it's like obviously Angelina Jolie isn't gonna be doing The Masked Singer, you know? That show just kind of doesn't have a lot of heart that usually is something I crave in reality TV. Claim to Fame is very different. It does feel like trend-wise it is a distant derivative of The Masked Singer and the big success that that show is, but Claim to Fame is better at, first of all, having like A-list celebrities. Like the contestants of Claim to Fame are related to A-list people that are very respected, very loved, and I'll get to some of the reveals in a bit, but I was initially just shocked at like the caliber of celebrities that the contestants were related to. I was expecting a lot more like Snooki's cousin or the child of a real housewife, you know. I was expecting more of celebrities like in the reality TV world or just at that tier of fame, and that makes the game a lot more fun because it is way more likely that everyone knows who the relative is. If the celebrity is A-list, it is a big likelihood that a lot of the contestants can figure it out. So I do think Claim to Fame is worth watching. If you don't like reality TV, then no, but if you like reality TV and are looking for something fresh, this show is actually decently produced and is really fun to play along to. Sorry, I look a little different because I forgot to talk a little bit about the title of this video, which is the whole nepotism babies conversation that has been going on this year. I think as TikTok became more popular, there was this subgenre of TikTok content that was about revealing nepotism babies. Sometimes they're abbreviated as like Nepo babies, revealing or exposing when like a famous celebrity that we don't know is related to someone famous. And nepotism babies have always been a thing in Hollywood. It's like a super common thing. I feel like it's more likely than not that a famous person is already related to a more famous person or a previously famous person. But at the same time, it's not something that's usually promoted by that celebrity unless it's like super obvious. So it's been interesting to see the younger generation, like Gen Z age, discover nepotism babies and be shook that some of their favorite celebrities are where they are due to nepotism. And I think it's important to note that nepotism isn't about insulting someone's talent or putting them down in such a way. I think some people view it that way, but I think it's fair to say that nepotism is one of the easiest ways to get into showbiz. If you're someone benefiting from nepotism, you still have to have a lot of the times the talent to back it up, but it is the nepotism and the privilege that comes with it that gets you in the door, that gets you acting or singing lessons starting at age 3. People like Hailey Bieber is a big nepotism baby. She's the daughter of one of the Baldwin brothers. Drew Barrymore is a nepotism baby. She comes from a long line of acting. Liza Minnelli was Judy Garland's daughter, which a lot of people forget about. Maude Apatow is the daughter of Judd Apatow and Leslie Mann. The nepotism baby concept just really got a lot of traction this year, and I'm not sure exactly why. I think it's just the nature of TikTok, but I think it is important to have that knowledge because so many times we compare ourselves to celebrities and compare our lives to them, and it's not quite a fair comparison for most of us that aren't related to someone famous. So that all being said, I think this show comes at a time where the nepotism baby trend and interest in it is pretty high. Like, this show is a great companion to the nepotism baby conversation going on online. Next, I want to talk about Claim to Fame and the format exactly. Episodes of Claim to Fame are around 40 minutes. They honestly fly by for me for whatever reason. I think I'm getting more used to like the hour-long, an hour and a half long reality shows now. And it airs at 9 p.m. Central Time on ABC right after The Bachelorette, and you can catch episodes the next day on Hulu. When I first saw the trailer and the concept, I really expected kind of an episodic and more game show format, kind of like the way Chopped is on the Food Network, where you start off with like 3 or 4 people and then you eliminate them throughout the episode, and then at the end of the episode you have a winner, and then maybe like the season finale of the show is like all the winners of all the episodes or something like that. I think that's how The Masked Singer works as well, where they're kind of in groups. I'm not sure, but I expected Claim to Fame to be similar to that because, I don't know, I guess I felt that celebrity relatives would be hard to get, and so they wouldn't want to commit like more than 4 hours of their time. Once I started watching, it really threw me for a loop that they were living in a house in true reality TV format, and that commitment to the competition from the contestants automatically made me buy in a lot more. Apparently the mansion once belonged to Katy Perry. The show is hosted by Kevin Jonas and Frankie Jonas, the two least successful Jonas brothers. Sorry to Kevin, no shade. I think the idea is for them to play off of how Frankie Jonas wasn't part of the Jonas brothers music group, and so he's always kind of the other Jonas, the forgotten brother. Frankie Jonas has made a name for himself on TikTok a bit these past years, but I also think he got canceled, and now I'm confused if he's canceled or not. Let me Google it real quick. Is Frankie Jonas canceled? Apparently he did some Scientology necklace prank. We really need to have a centralized location that tells us if somebody's canceled, because I'm always like, oh god, I think you got canceled. There needs to be like tiers of canceled, like were they just a shitty person or were they committing crimes and everything in between. According to this article on 44bars.com, Frankie Jonas has been accused of poor shaming middle-class girls and has other allegations and drug scandals. I can't find a definitive answer, but if y'all know if Frankie Jonas is canceled, let me know. But anyway, Kevin Jonas, Frankie Jonas host. They play off of like a sibling rivalry dynamic, and they claim that they don't know anyone's relatives either. So The hosts are in the dark on this one. The format of each episode is that the contestants participate in a main challenge. Usually it's a simple-ish type of challenge, nothing very rigorous like obstacle courses. I guess these challenges are more in the vein of Big Brother, but they're even more low-key. Like Big Brother challenges get intense too. These are more like feel an object in a box and guess what it is. So they compete in the challenge and they determine a winner. The winner each episode gets to get a hint or a clue about a player of their choice. And then the two worst losers of the challenge have to participate in the guessing ceremony at the end. Each episode ends with a guess-off ceremony where the entire cast except for the bottom two go to a voting booth and choose between the two bottoms for who is going to have to guess somebody. So the two bottom people are on the chopping block and then the cast determines which of the two is the bottomest bottom and has to take a gamble on a guess. So whoever wins the vote becomes the guesser and they have to guess somebody's relative. The big gamble here is that if they get it wrong, then they are out. They are eliminated, they go home. So the guesser is in a really scary position where if they guess wrong, they will go home. But if they guess someone's celebrity relative correctly, then they get to stay and the person that was exposed goes home. So regardless, someone gets eliminated. It's either the guesser gets eliminated or whoever they guessed correctly. So that's the general format. And again, I'm just impressed by the commitment to really fleshing out a true reality TV show. And the contestants are taking it seriously. Like they are strategizing to levels that me as an avid Survivor watcher, I feel pleased by the amount of strategizing I'm seeing in this game. It's not just a game about these people trying to get famous. A lot of them seem to have honestly really good, healthy views on fame. I think a lot of them grew up around it enough that they know sort of the pros and the cons of fame. So I don't get the sense that like this cast is really clout chasing. They feel like genuinely trying to play the game and they feel very invested. Everyone has little notebooks. They're writing down clues. The show does provide them clues here and there. We start off in the first episode, people give like a 2 truths and a lie to get people started on clues. In the house, they have this wall that has a bunch of objects on it, kind of like in a collage style. That wall has clues about everybody's celebrity. The challenges also contain clues. There's a lot for them to work with, and I'm just excited and proud of like people actually going for it and playing the game hard, because that's all I want in a social strategy game. And this show gave me all of that. So as much as I wanted to pick this show apart and hate on it, I can't. It's a great show. It's well put together. It's committed, and the contestants are playing hard. Of course, I forgot to mention, what are we playing for? So the last person standing, if no one can guess their relative, they win $100,000. So let me go ahead and talk about the first 2 episodes. This is your spoiler alert if you want to skip. It's funny because one of my favorite shows on HBO Max is called The Other Two. I very much recommend it. It's so funny. It's like a true, just hilarious comedy. And the show is about 2 kind of forgotten siblings of this kid that gets really, really famous, kind of a Justin Bieber type. They're like adjacent to fame, but they just get in all these really funny situations that way. I feel like this show captures that energy of The Other Two. It's like a real life version of that show. Let me go through the cast, and I think that's going to be the easiest route. Some people in the first 2 episodes are clearly main characters, especially the ones that we've seen their celebrity revealed, whether it's just to the audience or they were exposed. First, we meet X. X is not his real name, but he is one of the most obvious. After episode 2, his identity has not been revealed, but Dominique, who I'm going to talk about in a bit, is on to X's identity. X is a twin, so that's what makes him a little more obvious. He has a very distinct emo vibe to him. All of the cast tells him they think he's a vampire. Everyone thinks he's so cunning and he has the game in the bag. And he's been featured very prominently in both episode 1 and 2. So I think he's going to be important, but I do think people are on to him. At first, I was pretty thrown about who he was, But once he said he was a twin, I was like, oh. After episode 1, I highly suspected Laverne Cox is his twin. They do have the same face. It's hard because X has this drag on of like super emo makeup and stuff. When I try to look under the makeup, I was like, oh my god, he looks like Laverne Cox. And then when I heard his voice talking, he has a very similar vocal styling, vocal fry as Laverne Cox. It's the way they talk, like the accent. Not the same voice, but the same cadence. I was proud of myself for getting it, even though it was pretty obvious. And in episode 2, Dominique is onto him because they do the main challenge where they have to guess objects, and each object is a hint for someone's celebrity. And they put in an orange there, and Dominique kind of deciphers orange is the new black, Laverne Cox, and X, and she gets there. X is a tough one to hide, but he has been doing good and been playing really hard. He did win the main challenge in episode 2 and got a hint for Brittany, who is the daughter of a famous football player. I thought it was silly that X tried to get a hint for Brittany because X doesn't know the sports world, and he knew Brittany was related to a sports player, so the hint you get is probably going to be pretty useless if you don't know sports. It was so funny in episode 2 seeing all of the girls, gays and theys, struggling to figure out any sports player. They did not know what a cheesehead was. They did not know what AstroTurf was. They didn't know who number 4 on the Green Bay Packers was. I would not know at all either. I totally related to this. If I was in this game, I think I'd be really good at it, aside from sports and country music, which were the ones that I was so clueless. Like, that is my pop culture blind spot. I find it so funny because I bet someone that watches football or knows football is like, duh, this is like the most obvious thing ever. But it's just a different world for me and a lot of the girlies on this season. At least X got the Packers part of the clue, which already was impressive for not knowing sports. So next I want to talk about Maxwell, who was the first eliminated on this, and it was due to like the stupidest reason. He was eliminated at the guess off. Pepper was voted the guesser that episode, and she singled out Maxwell. She thought she knew who he was related to. She said he's related to Steven Spielberg. That's his grandpa. But that was incorrect. However, in that moment, we had a classic production shutdown moment where the hosts are called out. It was like, what's going on? I love me some production behind the scenes drama, and they waited till the best possible moment to do it. Kevin and Frankie Jonas came out and revealed that Maxwell had been cheating and using his phone in the house. Phones are not allowed in the house. And we see footage of him sneaking around. Maxwell had been a main character that whole episode, and I was convinced he was Steven Spielberg's grandson too, because Maxwell was the main character this whole episode, and the edit was trying to get us, the audience, to also believe he was Spielberg's grandson. The clues looked like they all lined up. He looked like Spielberg. He had the vibe, I don't know. And then they reveal at the end that he's related to Chuck Norris, which was so random because he seems so hipster and Gen Z. I don't know. There's like strong story editing on the show, and I was excited that it wasn't such an obvious answer, and it really threw a twist at me and at the contestants. After that, all the contestants were like, shit, like all of our assumptions and guesses might be totally wrong, like this one. It was a great episode, great twist ending, and kind of a good wake-up call for the cast that helps light a fire under their ass, as reality TV people love to say. And that was silly of the Maxwell to get caught cheating. Like, what I'm worried about is that Maxwell like would have told someone else things he Googled. Hopefully he didn't, but I don't know. Now I'm suspicious of everyone that like is guessing correctly too much. I'm like, did Maxwell tell you while he was Googling? So next, another kind of main character of these 2 episodes has been Amara. And Amara's interesting because she is one of the few that her celebrity relative was revealed to the audience in episode 1. I kind of assume when this happens that something's gonna go on where they're gonna get exposed that episode. I feel like they don't want us, the audience, knowing too much or knowing much too early. But Amara is the first celebrity I think they showed us, and Amara is Whoopi Goldberg's granddaughter. And when they revealed that, I was like, okay, so we are A-list on this show. We are not doing D-list shit. Whoopi Goldberg, she's an EGOT. As more have been revealed, they have all been a pretty high caliber. Amara is working hard on like having a strong alliance, I think, with Pepper and with Louise, who we'll get to, as well as a lot of the girls. It seems like a lot of the girls have stuck together on this. The problem is all of them have a blind spot for football particularly. So Amara misleads everyone at first by saying her grandmother is a porn star. I think that's a tough lie to sell though, because everyone's celebrity is pretty high caliber, and I don't know that there's like a ton of A-list porn stars. I imagine within the world of porn, sure, there's like super famous ones, but it seems like everyone's celebrity is like A-list as in someone that transcends their industry. Like even the athlete that they mention on this, like I've heard his name and I remember a lot of people being obsessed with him. So I don't know if Amara's choice was the best, but we'll see how it plays out. She's still in the game. She is still like figuring stuff out, leading her team a lot. Honestly, her team is a lot of the bottoms though, so like I don't know why she chose that alliance. I think she just vibed with them, but she's the one having to like figure out how to keep her team safe a lot of the time. So next, let's talk about Brittany. She is the daughter of a football player, and she was revealed to the audience as Brett Favre's daughter in episode 2. Brett Favre is number 4 on the Green Bay Packers. I learned that through this episode. And he's a very famous quarterback. I remember when I was growing up, probably like maybe middle school and early high school was around the era he was big, but I remember a lot of boys were obsessed with him. Brittany did really good in the first episode. She won the first main challenge, which was like a general talent show, and she did like a painting. The painting was questionable. I think people are just impressed by like a reveal. It looked a little froggish to me. But anyway, Brittany won because she stunned everyone with her flipping a canvas around. She got a clue for Lark. The clue is basically like supermodel in the 80s. So Brittany was kind of like a big threat starting episode 1 winning, and then in episode 2 she became a big target because people were figuring her out. And the boys that liked football had an advantage here because the girlies were confused. Logan, who's the country star relative, and Michael, who we'll get to in a sec, they both figured out she was related to Brett Favre. However, Logan wants to keep Brittany as an ally. I don't know if it's a Republicans protect Republicans thing. That's the vibe they give me. Logan is looking out for Brittany. So Brittany has some sort of protection. However, Michael, it's really Amara who tells Michael like what the clues are, and Michael with his football knowledge is able to figure it out and then tells the rest of the group basically. The issue is all the girlies can't confirm it because they're all like, I don't know who that is, never heard his name. They don't know if they can trust that information they've been given. And Logan, who has the answer as well, is keeping his lips sealed and even spreading misinformation, using his advantage of knowing football to stir the pot and distract away from Brittany. That's what I'm saying. This show has strategy, and people aren't going for the obvious answer. Even if they know whose relative someone is, they're like, no, they're in my alliance and they're gonna help me later. This is like Survivor level, and it's only a season 1 of a show. I already talked a bit about Logan, but let me talk about him. He's kind of a big threat. He is related to a country music star, apparently from Georgia. This is another blind spot for me. I have no idea who it could be. Brad Paisley, that I think that's just the only country name I could think of. Maybe it's like Carrie Underwood. He is also kind of a country singer type. He's the one giving me the most vibes of like, I'm trying to jumpstart my own career here. I keep thinking like, oh, he's related to Tom Holland. Like, I feel like he looks like a countrified Tom Holland, but then I'm like, that doesn't fit any of the criteria otherwise. He just looks like Tom Holland to me. But Logan's a big threat. In episode 2 at the end, he was kind of the mastermind behind the strategy and put the target away from Brittany, which was a pretty certain guess on Brett Favre. He shifted everyone to look at Michael and guess his celebrity instead because he was annoyed by Michael and I think they just weren't getting along. Logan kind of orchestrated. He talked to Pepper. He put doubts in her mind about the football stuff. Logan is dangerous, not afraid to lie, cheat, and steal and turn on his Southern charm. I feel like he was totally flirting with Louise as well, like hugging up on her at the end of episode 2. It's all very sus, and I think he's gonna make it far because country music I think is a little niche as well, and people, there's so many options to choose from, and at the same time people might not be that familiar with it. I think he's well situated and he's gotten an edit so far that points to him moving far in the competition. I hope he doesn't win though, because I want Amara to win. Next, let me talk about Michael, who was kind of the main character, more like the main villain of episode 2, and he was eliminated in episode 2. Zendaya needs to come collect her cousin because he was pissing everybody off. Everyone hated him. He had like valuable and true information about Brittany and no one wanted to hear it because he was so like scammy in his approach to everyone and they didn't trust him because of that. The only one who hears him out is Dominique, who is kind of up for being the guesser, and I think that's why she went and heard him out. She just heard the information and was like, okay, like I don't know if that's true or not. Michael just had poor social game and social awareness, despite him actually having great and valuable information to share. And that was unfortunate for him. I did kind of sense he might be the one related to Zendaya. That's only because I first saw the trailer for the show and I saw the first name on the list was Zendaya, so like I knew someone in the house was related to Zendaya, and that was kind of a spoiler. He was exposed correctly by Pepper. Something good about Michael being out is that he was onto Amara about Whoopi Goldberg in episode 2, and I was like, no, stupid Michael's gonna fucking expose Whoopi Goldberg. He wasn't able to and he left. So maybe Amara's in the clear for a while longer. I think we're gonna see Amara for a while just because they revealed her so early and she's been featured pretty prominently. So I hope she makes it far. Let me talk about Dominique next, who I've talked about a bit. She heard out Michael. She did bad in the second main challenge, but she ended up not being the guesser. But Dominique seems to be really smart. She is on to Louise. Well, everyone's on to Louise. We'll get to her in a sec. But Dominique is on to X, who I feel like no one else is on to X, which I'm just like, this is Laverne Cox in drag king makeup. Next, let me talk about Louise, whose real name is Adria, who is basically Simone Biles' twin. Like, she isn't fooling anybody. Everyone except, I think Pepper, who Pepper's not the brightest crayon in the box, whatever it's called. But anyway, almost everyone knows that Louise is related to Simone Biles. They look identical. When they're next to each other, they don't look as similar. But when Louise is in the house, certain angles, I'm just like, oh my god, Simone Biles is in the house. Like, literally, it's her. And I think she was trying to fool people saying, you know, it's a NASCAR driver or a basketball player. I don't know what she was trying to say, but no one's buying it. The cool thing, though, is that they are not exposing her in these first 2 episodes. It's not about the obvious answer. A lot of people have taken her up on an alliance, and they're saving her for when, like, they don't have a good guess of anyone else. I liked how right out the gate people were thinking harder, thinking steps ahead, not just thinking, oh, I know she looks like Simone Biles, let's just get her out of here. Louise, obviously her days are numbered. She's a layup for when they need it, but she's made it 2 episodes in and is solid in her alliances, so she's further than I would have ever thought. Let me talk about Pepper, who kind of threw me off because Pepper was not really introduced in the first half of episode 1, but then she became very important towards the end and eventually became the guesser, and then she was the guesser again on episode 2. So Pepper has been an important kind of underdog character so far. I'm really confused who she could be related to. I think a lot of people are confused by her. Apparently olives and martinis are part of her big clue, but all I can think of with that is James Bond, which I don't really know the James Bonds that well, and I thought they were all British, and she's not British, so off of pure vibes, like I get Drew Barrymore energy from Pepper, but that just might be a coincidence. Just the way they kind of talk and like kind of they seem very sensitive. Like she just reminds me of Drew Barrymore in like her energy. I don't know that all of us are related to Drew Barrymore. I like Pepper. I mean, I think it's always hard not to root for the underdog, and Pepper has been an underdog, so I like her. I don't think she'll make it too far, but also she is kind of mysterious in her identity. It was so funny in the second challenge how she was like just overcomplicating every guess. Instead of an orange, she would put grapefruit. It was always like a fancy hipster version of whatever the thing was, and she kept getting it wrong because of that. Like instead of a pickle, it was like a peppercini or something. And the last 3 contestants I have on my list haven't been featured as prominently. LC has a bit to an extent. She seems smart. She caught on to Simone Biles really quick. And I think it's Dominique who thinks LC is related to Forrest Whitaker. Apparently she looks like them, and I have no idea who that is. So maybe she is related to them, and I have no idea. And then finally, the last 2 contestants that haven't gotten much airtime are Lark and Kai. Lark is the one who is possibly the daughter of a runway queen from the 80s. That was the clue. And then Kai, we don't know much about. Like, she has been pretty edited out this whole time. I keep trying to think who is the pickle clue and what pop culture thing would the pickle be, because the objects in the second challenge were interesting to me. They're all such simple objects that it was like had to be big pop culture things that they're referencing. Like orange is the new black. It's kind of like, what pop culture thing do you first think of when you see this item? Olives, to me, it's James Bond and martinis. I don't know what else is a martini. For the spider, it was Spider-Man. For Zendaya and Michael, football, it was AstroTurf. For Simone Biles, it was a gym mat. And I'm lost with some of the other clues. Apparently the fake mustache is Dominique's clue. Dominique says it like in the confessional, and I was thinking like Samuel L. Jackson. Like, I don't know. And the belt buckle, I assume, is the country guy. That doesn't help much. I was thinking the pottery clay is Amara, because the pottery clay, the pottery scene in Ghost has Whoopi Goldberg in it. For pickle, like I can't think of what pop culture thing is like pickle. Like Rugrats? Tommy Pickles? I don't know. Rick and Morty? All I can think of with pickles is animated stuff. Pickle. And the bowl of chili? Those are the ones that I'm most confused about and we have the least information about. So those were the first 2 episodes. I think I covered everything. I'm enjoying the mystery of it and playing along. For a pop culture nerd, this is like exactly up my alley. But I recommend it. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have watched it, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Try not to give me spoilers. I'm gonna try not to get fully spoiled. But if you have any major guesses that you figured out yourself, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. I haven't quite figured it all out, but I'm excited to keep watching, and they have made my Monday night so much more exciting. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos twice a week about TV, pop culture, internet trends, and miscellaneous things. And you can follow me at Miscellaneous on Instagram or Twitter to find out about new videos, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!